Hello and welcome back to this Library of Ruina series. In this video, we'll be taking on the R-Corp Fourth Pack. Yep, they're back and giving us some upgrades for their decks. So let's get started. The R-Corp Fourth Pack Episode 2 Electric Boogaloo is a 4-act 5v5 reception, with the first act playing out very similarly to the first act of R-Corp 1. The reindeer are functionally identical, so I'll just give the TLDR here. Graze the Grass is the utility, so you can safely ignore it or clash into it for free emotion coins if you need. Energy Strike deals self-stagger and expends charge to deal significant stagger damage. Beating its 3 is most important. If you're using Gebra with Meongist, then Spirit will easily be able to beat it with the +5. Concentration is generic and can be mitigated with 2-cost value pages with power boosters or 3-cost bombs. Mind Whip is very threatening due to its singular powerful die and bonus stagger damage, so mitigating it with a block die is your best bet. If you're running Meongist, then a Focus Spirit actually has a decent chance of outrolling it. Rudolph has 30 more HP, loses his Brainwave Charge Focusing Antlers, and gains a bit of new behavior. When he reaches 70 HP, he'll retreat. Because of this, I'd recommend focusing him down first, since he is marginally more threatening than the generic reindeer and is easier to remember which one you're targeting. The second act is very similar to the second act of R-Corp 1. For the rhinos, bulky impact should be mitigated with a block on 2 or outrolled with a Meongist die. Rhinoram should be mitigated with a block on 1. Maxime gets 40 more HP, loses his Bionic Charge Synchronizing Hull, and gets the same behavior as Rudolph, running away at 70 HP. The third act faces you against 4 generic rabbits and Meow. The rabbits are identical to the first reception. Outroll Quick Suppression and Concentrated Fire with 2-cost value pages or 3-cost bombs, and counter Pinpoint Shot the same way you did Mind Whip or Rhino Ram. Meow gets 30 more HP, loses her Compressed Charge Stimulated Muscle Force, and, you guessed it, gets the same retreat behavior as the other captains. Ironically, the first 3 acts are actually easier than the first reception, as they lose their unique passives and they have less effective HP, so if you're able to beat that reception, the first 3 acts should be a cakewalk. The fourth act is where things get interesting. Rudolph, Maxime, Meow, and Nikolai are all here, and they have new combat pages that can only be used on 20 charge. Rudolph has Mind Crush, a 6-cost mass individual that rolls 4 to 8, 4 to 8, 5 to 10, with each die dealing 6 additional stagger damage. This one is fairly hard to consistently beat even with 3 costs, so your best bet is to kill him before you can get to 20 charge. Maxime has Ground Crash, a 6-cost mass summation that rolls 13 to 22, but on use, it spends 20 charge to give the dice 10 power, making it roll 23 to 32. Once again, compared to Greatest Split Horizontal, this isn't too difficult to outroll with cards like Emotional Turbulence or even just double empowered Creeks. Meow, along with Slash and Pierce Mastery, gets Savage Mode. This is a 6-cost mass individual that rolls 4 to 9, 4 to 9, 6 to 10. Additionally, the third die deals 15 bonus damage to the manually selected target on hit, and all the dice can inflict 3 bleed on hit. This one is even harder to outroll than Rudolph's, but isn't as impactful on hit. Like Mind Crush, mitigating the first 2 is quite doable with a 2 or 3 cost with 2 dice, but the third die is kind of hard. Nikolai gets Disposal, a 5-cost melee page with 2 very powerful dice. The first one rolls 15 to 30, and on Clash Win, destroys the opponent's die, and on Clash Lose, destroys the user's next die. The second die rolls 10 to 20, and if the target has Mark, it increases the damage at stagger damage by the natural roll. Finally, if the target's at half health or lower, it deals double damage, and if it kills the target, it adds another disposal to hand and reduces its cost by 1. This one is pretty brutal, so I'd also try to kill Nikolai before she gets to 20 charge. For deck building, you get a couple new pages. Clone is a very unique 1 cost. Its rolls are terrible, but on use, it'll exhaust and become a copy of the most expensive page in hand. This page has some fringe use right now to copy mass attacks or certain 3 to 4 costs, most notably with the next page, Rapid Gashes. This is a 5 cost with 4 alright dice. The gimmick of this page is that the cost gets reduced for each other copy of Rapid Gashes in hand, so with 6 copies, you can get it to fairly consistently cost 0. This Clone Rapid Gashes archetype works really well on Eugen, with 3 Clone, 3 Rapid Gashes, a couple copies of Unlock, and maybe a defensive page for early acts clashing. You also get all of the captain's unique pages. If you're running Rudolph or Maxime, I'd highly recommend using their mass attacks, as I've said before, mass attacks are inherently powerful. Instead of getting feral knives immediately, Mio gets savage mode. This 2 cost has terrible rolls, but on use, converts all ranged pages to melee pages, adds feral knives to hands, and gives all dice 1 power for the rest of the act. This is probably the strongest of all the unique pages, as it converts the Creek upgrade concentrated fire into a melee page. Because of this, I think Pierce Mio Singleton is pretty strong, since it gets to use both Somber Procuration and Concentrated Fire. The big question is whether or not it's worth using over slapping Mio's prowess on Gebra. In my opinion, and probably most people's, Myongest is much stronger, but I'm going to try and step away from using Myongest so I can experience life, so I'll be experimenting with Mio builds and seeing if they're worth running over speed 3 pages. Disposal is pretty interesting. I'm personally not a huge fan of it as it's a win more card, but this one has some more use as it's just a very strong page that can get you out of sticky situations. In the next video, we'll be covering a few abnormalities, starting with Ozma. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.